Hello and welcome to this video on installing Linux Mint on box. I'll assume that you've already got VirtualBox installed and that you know how to open it. So, Mint requirements. So, as a minimum you'll need a 64-bit AMD or Intel CPU. Chances are you probably already have this. 2 GB of RAM that's available to VirtualBox for virtual machines, so probably want a computer with at least 4 GB of RAM, if not 8. 20 GB of hard disk space free, and a screen resolution that is at least 1024 by 768. Higher would be better. Same with the rest of it. So the recommended would be a 64-bit AMD or Intel CPU with at least 2 cores, 4 GB of RAM, so you're definitely going to want a host with 8 GB of memory as a minimum, 100 GB of disk space, and 1600 by 800 screen resolution. You can of course go better again, but for the sake of just getting something, I would recommend going with the recommended settings. So I will exit this and head over to VirtualBox. I'm going to click on New, and we're going to call this Linux Mint 2. So I'm going to just go ahead and select the Linux Mint ISO as I've already downloaded it. However, if you need it, open up your web browser, go to linuxmint.com, click on download, scroll down to the bottom, Edge ISO rather than the regular one. This one's got a more recent version of the kernel, so it's just a little bit more optimized and works better on newer hardware. So you click on download, and then download from one of the mirrors in your country, or of course you can download using a torrent. So we've got our ISO, we don't want the unattended installation, we'll do it manually. Click next. I'm going to give 4 GB, that's 4096, and just to speed things up, I've got plenty of cores here, so I'm going to go with 4. You can use EFI if you want instead of BIOS. I'm just going to stick with the defaults for now for that. So default gives you 25 GB, which is enough to get going. As we've got what they call thin provisioned disks by default, so it doesn't allocate all the space immediately. It just allows you to grow up to a certain size. I'm not going to go too much into how the virtual hard disk work right now, but let's just say you can use this pre-allocate, which creates a hard disk file that is that size, so it's guaranteed to have the space, or you can say just create me a file and I'll fill it up to the maximum. So I'm going to set a maximum of 100. That's as far as it can go, but it's probably not going to use all of that. So next, so this just summarizes what it's set up, and finish. So I'm going to go into settings because there's still a few more things that I like to configure. So we can see the basic system settings, so the memory, so you've got a floppy disk drive, I don't need one of those, so get rid of that. Optical drive we're using, hard disk for boot, not using networking at this point. Display settings, to be honest, default's enough. If you want to do 3D and stuff, you can adjust that in here. Storage, so if it's linked to our ISO, NAT, which is fine, so we're all good to go. Just know that if you need to tweak any of these settings, this is where you come to do it if you want to adjust it. So OK to that, and let's start the virtual machine. So start Linux Mint. I'm going to adjust my screen size because I've got quite a large resolution here, so I'm going to go to 150% just to make it a bit more usable. All the setup files. What this actually does when it first boots is gives you a version of Linux Mint that doesn't actually make any difference. This is what they call the try mode, if you like, so you can see what it's got to offer. So if you wanted to, browse the internet, you could quickly open up Firefox off the CD. As you can see, the CD is flashing. Skip all of that, but in essence you've got a web browser and all sorts of stuff just out of the box. So some people actually use this as like a port. Great. So my language is English. If yours is different, there's I want the UK layout. Again, choose the one that's appropriate for you. So Linux Mint likes to try and keep things freedom as well as in price. Some software that allows you to play back some media formats and so on. I like to do this just because it means if I want to play something, chances are it's going to work. So then we get to the hard disk installed on this virtual machine previously. You can choose to not erase the entire hard disk. Located somewhere else. Your name. So that's install completed, so I'll do restart now. I press enter to eject the ISO and the computer will reboot. So enter the password that you set during setup. Enter. And then we get the option to run. Type in our password again. Authenticate. And this should run through a script that will install the necessary drivers to make this work a little bit better. can take a little while. Time to close the window. And right click on here, eject, we don't want that in there anymore. Click on the menu icon, which is this LM bit, then power and restart, just to get those changes to take effect. And if we go full screen now, give it a moment, it should resize. Go full 4K. Yeah. There we go, that's much better. So, moral of the story, if you've got a big screen, allocate more video memory. So do that when you first do the settings. Right, so we've got our drivers on. I still want to come back to this, but we'll do some updates first, because the update manager will be popping up at some point telling me that there's some necessary. So to do this, we'll go to the terminal that I've opened from here. Nothing too scary, but I just prefer doing it this way. But you know what, I'll show you the easy way first. So this little shield here is indicating that there's some updates that are needed. So first of all, we'll go OK. We'll apply the update for the update manager. Pop in your password. To be honest, the update manager is pretty good. I'm just so used to do it on the command line. So we also want to switch to a local mirror because I'm in the UK and I don't want to be pulling them from the US servers. It doesn't need to go across the Atlantic. So I'll click on here and UK Fast will do me. Hit apply and OK, and then it will refresh. So basically these servers are where the software updates and software packages are located. So we switch to our local one and we can see, yeah, quite a lot of updates required, and to apply